If you know David Bayer, you probably already know how great he is and love his content, but let's be honest, there's a lot of content to get through to get caught up. So if you want to know the 5 most powerful frameworks, I'd recommend starting with the ones that completely rewired how I think, how I lead, and how I live. This video's got you covered, because in this episode, I'm going to tell you about how I coached privately with David for over a year, went through every level of his program, and even became certified as a mindset facilitator myself for my life. So this isn't theory. This is coming from someone who's lived it, applied it, and paid over $100,000 to learn all these principles, all these life-changing frameworks. So stick around until the end, because I'm not just going to break down his most transformative tools. I'll also share how we use them today as a leader, a husband, and a father, and how you can use them too, starting right now. Welcome to today's episode. Welcome to Real Influence. I'm Joey Valancourt, here to help you achieve big goals without sacrificing your health, your relationships, or your joy by rewriting your scripts of success and living in alignment with what matters most. And as always, before we dive in, if you're serious about living a great life, join me in the Great Life Experiment. It's a free 30-day journey where I'll send you one powerful question each day to help you live with more clarity, more peace, and more purpose. You can go ahead and start your journey at thegreatlifeexperiment.ca. All right, so like I said, I trained with David Bayer for over a year. I was part of his communities. I was part of everything that he had going on. And to this day, I still listen to his podcasts every single week. And he left me with so many transformative frameworks. And I really wanted to distill this episode down to the 5 most powerful ones. Now, the key thing, if you're listening to this for the first time and you've never heard of David Bayer, you can check him out. I mean, you can also watch his video all the way through. But just know that these are life-changing frameworks for anything you're looking to do in life. This isn't just for business. This isn't just for life goals. This is everything. It transformed the way I think. I went from suffering every single day to now I still suffer, but I'm aware and I'm able to pull myself out of that suffering by using these tools. So we've got 5 frameworks to get through today. The first framework we're going to go to is desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. So the first framework is actually a formula of success. So think about any time that you want to accomplish something. That's your desired result. So you have a desire, you have this thing you want to do, but then you have a resistance or a non-resistance. So to get the desired result, we have to have a desire and remove the resistance. This will give us the desired result. So I'll give a couple key examples as we go through these frameworks to really anchor them in and how they might show up in your life. But every desire reveals resistance, and resistance reveals great opportunities for growth. So you think about just making more money, okay? So there might be a desire that you want to make an extra 10 grand a year, 100,000 a year, or a certain number in your bank account. So the desire is more money, but the resistance is, well, no one in my family's ever made that. I'm not worthy of money. I have a hard time making money. I don't see a possible way to make that money, but I have this desire. So this is where, whenever you talk about manifestation, manifestation fails because we don't remove the resistance first. That's the key. You could desire something all day long, but you're driving with the brakes on if you truly don't believe it and embody it. So I'm going to talk about another example as well when it comes to just working out or getting fit. So you want to work out, you want to get in shape, but you have a limiting belief, you have a resistance, because you think that I don't keep my habits. I don't value my body. I've tried this before, it didn't work. We have to address that resistance and start to say, wait a minute, that's not always the case. I don't always do something. It's happened a couple times, but I have evidence of other things in my life that I've applied myself to, and I've repeated the process, and I'm able to do it here. So that's how we work with the resistance. And we're going to talk about some practical ways you can do this daily. It's an exercise. It's called neurosculpting. It's literally like going to the gym for your brain. It's building the muscles to focus on the right filters in life to attract the thing you want to attract. The last example that I'll give is, let's say you want to find a new partner. You're not happy in your relationship, or you're not happy with the people you're dating. So you want to find this new person, the perfect person that you want to marry, settle down with, but you think there's no good ones left. So you have the desire for this new person, but you don't believe it's possible. Again, you're not going to get the desired result. So we have to start to remove that resistance. And again, we're going to look for evidence as to why it's possible and why that limiting belief isn't actually true. And we're going to talk about how everything that makes you feel bad, angry, frustration, we're going to talk about the 2 states of being later. But just know that if you're feeling something that doesn't feel good in your body, it's probably not true. It's a story, and the story is separate from the experience. And we're going to get right into that. So framework number 2 is the 2 states of being, primal and powerful state. David says that there's 2 states of being at any given time. And you're never in one state and the other state at the same time, meaning you can't feel primal and powerful at the same time, right? So if you're feeling frustration, if you're feeling anger, if you're feeling discouragement or anxiety, fear, all that are primal states. Powerful states are joy, they're happiness, enthusiasm, all those things that make you feel good. So the key idea here is you're always in one of two states. Powerful, which is truth. It's actually things you're thinking that make you feel good are the truth. And primal is a fear and a story that you're creating. So I did mention that like the story is separate from the experience, right? You could take two people, give them the exact same situation. Both could have completely different perspectives on it. This is what we're talking about. And if you can start to identify in your life when you're feeling not good, but you're in a primal state and some sort of story or belief that you're holding in mind isn't true. And we want to identify that so we can move then into the powerful state. An example of this is like in your workplace. Let's just say that you've got a boss. You get critical feedback from your boss. They say that the project wasn't exactly what I expected. I wanted more from you. So you get feedback and instantly you feel defensive because your story says, I'm not good enough. Here's more examples that people don't think that I do good work. I'm never going to be good enough. When in reality, you just got feedback. Feedback could be a good thing. What could we learn from this feedback? What's the truth behind what the statement was from my boss? Could there be questions that I could ask to make things better in the next time that this happens? If you're in a primal state, you don't have powerful questions because you're shut down by fear or discouragement or whatever the primal feeling is you're feeling. But if you move into the powerful state and you think that feedback isn't bad, feedback's a good thing, feedback's a way for me to learn, you're going to start to come from it from a more confident state and have better questions. You're going to learn from this. You're going to move on from it and become better. Think about relationships, right? Your partner forgets to do something. So the story you say is like, they don't respect me. They never listen to me. Why do I even try? That doesn't make me feel good. So I know I'm in a primal state and that's probably not true. And the truth is they might have just forgot. And if you start to see the person in a different way, if you consistently project that they're a person that forgets, you're going to emanate that energy to them. They're going to continue to forget versus shifting to a powerful state to say that, no, there's times where I've forgotten and they forget too. And forgetting is just part of life. It has nothing to do with what they think of me or the opinion of respect that they have for me. And think about a traffic jam. The last example I'll give for this is like somebody rear ends you in traffic or something happens to you. You could play the victim mentality. It still sucks, by the way, the experience of like getting rear-ended by somebody. But the reality is the person didn't do it as a personal attack to you. It was probably an accident. So you just want to make sure that you're not labeling yourself as a victim and identify when you feel these primal emotions, know that they're not true. Identify that's a state of being that you can now shift into a powerful state using the next examples I'm about to give you in the next frameworks. All right, framework number 3 are the 5 primary drivers. This is like an infographic, and I'm going to show this on screen to give you the whole rundown of it, but it basically states that any belief you have drives a thought. The thought drives feelings. The feelings drive actions, which then produce a result, which reinforces the initial belief. So your beliefs dictate every result in your life. And the reason why I want to keep this in mind is because when we're not achieving the desired result we want, we know that it's all linked to a core belief. That's the starting point. So imagine in like the workplace, if you're in sales as an example, okay, so you believe that you're bad at sales, but you've got this sales job, you have to perform. So you've got this belief, you start with that. So the thoughts are, I'm not good at sales. No one's going to want to pick up the phone. No one wants to hear from me. No one wants to talk to me. So what kind of feelings are you going to have? You're going to be angry, you're going to be discouraged, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be sad when you're on these calls. And the actions then you produce, you're not going to be great on calls. The result is you're not going to make sales, which reinforces, hey, look, I'm not good at sales. So as we know this, we want to then start to shift this. We want to take that old limiting belief, the one that makes us feel primal, and move into what's some form of the opposite of that. Okay, we're going to get into like what that framework is in just a second. But another example for you, it's in relationships, right? So you could think of like people always leave me. So what happens? You cling or you push away, creating the self-fulfilling prophecy that our people already always leave you, right? So if you're acting this way because you're driven by this belief, you're going to continue to have the same result. Another one is potentially on a personal level. A lot of times I felt this in the past was like, I don't have time. So what happens from that belief? I'm constantly rushing. I never find peace. And I'm always in a rush because I believe that I need to be in a rush to be more successful, to make more money. But if I start to downregulate that, I'm going to walk you through the biggest belief unlock that I had when I started to coach with David in just a second. But the takeaway here is to change your results, you must trace them back to these 5 primary drivers and identify that. And just knowing this, being aware of this framework is so powerful. All right, so framework number 4 is the power of decision. There was a great book, and I'm blanking on the name, but David talks about that book and how it changed the game for him and how he teaches his methodologies. So a new decision reshapes your brain, and reality, a new reality, is going to follow. So back in the 5 primary drivers in framework number 3, we talked about beliefs. But how do you change a belief? It's as simple as making a new decision. If you think you're not good at sales, you decide, I'm going to be good at sales and I can be good at sales. If you think that there's no good ones left, you decide that there are good ones left. You can make a new belief just like turning on a light switch. It doesn't mean things change right overnight. There's another great video that I put out. That's another framework by David. It talks about the echo effect, how long something takes for a new belief to start to shift and form in your life so that you see a result from it. It's not instantaneous. You got to think you're rewiring potentially decades of like old belief patterns, right? But the key here is you need to be able to make a decision. Now, the thing that I want to share with you in terms of like personal level is when I signed up for the community for David, at the time, it was a big decision, right? I sat up late at night. I was thinking of the money is going to go into this and all these things. And I had my doubts, but I still signed the papers. So the next day we're at this lunch and David takes the stage, takes the microphone and starts talking. And he says that, he congratulates all of us for making a great decision. But he said something key to me. And up until this point, I realized after hearing this from David about the power of decision, that the reason why I was failing at so many things in life, or perceivably failing at things in life, was because I never made the decision for myself. This was actually a good decision. I always had doubt. So he told us before we leave this room, everyone who's made this new decision to follow this community this year, to invest in yourself and to make these big changes, you have to decide right now and today, this is the best decision of your life. And that kind of hit me because I was like, oh, I have to actually decide this. I had all my doubts, right? All the ruminating thoughts, why this wasn't going to work, all the evidence I had of other masterminds, other communities, all these things that never really bloomed to what I thought they were going to come into in fruition. So from that moment on, I said, I am deciding this. I'm going to decide that this is going to be the best year of my life, the best investment, and the best experience. And every single day, I actually wrote that down on a piece of paper. And I memorized it. It wasn't that much to memorize, but I basically said this decision of investing with David Bayer and his community was the best decision of my life, and only great things can come from this. And I realized because I did have such a great year, I made more money, I got closer with my family, I worked less, I had all these things unfold. I'm like, why was it? Why did nothing else work? David's teachings are powerful, but at the same time, I was part of some great communities in the past. I always had my doubts. I always went into any kind of investment or any new community thinking this isn't going to work. I've tried this. These guys might be trying to scam me. I had all these doubts, and that was basically mirroring and projecting what I was getting back. So from that moment on, now whenever I do anything, it doesn't matter if it's the right or wrong decision at the time. I have to decide that this is the best decision for me in order for me to have the result that I should intend to get. Another couple of practical examples. Think about the workplace, think about money again. You decide money's easy to make. All of a sudden, your boss shows up and he's giving you a promotion. You get a few new client calls. Things start to happen and it's like, oh, that's coincidence. It's not coincidence. There's no coincidence. It's like the power of decision is taking place. You're deciding, you're forming new beliefs. You're looking for that. You're activating the signal into the universe. Even in relationships, you decide I'm worthy of love. So you stop tolerating misalignments. You start having a standards list. What is it that you want? You start to actually put forth all those desires because now you believe that it's possible. And on a personal level, like you decide I'm someone who keeps my promises to myself. You decided that you're going to keep promises, you have kept promises, or you've kept up habits in the past. Maybe it's not always been for the gym, but it's been other areas of your life that you've been committed to. And now you start to actually bring that belief into your life. You start to commit to the workout or the next thing that you want to start to do as a habit. So the key takeaway here is decision activates the brain's reticular activating system. For those of you not familiar with that, it's like when you buy a new car and it's red or a certain brand, and all of a sudden those cars show up everywhere. They've always been there. It's just your focus hasn't been tuned into that. It works the same way when you make decisions and new beliefs. Framework number 5 is the practical exercise. It's the decision matrix. This is a daily practice that you can do in the comfort of your own home, either on your computer or with a notepad and a pen and paper, or whatever it is that you have, okay? So this is something I did literally every single day for a year, because it takes that amount of repetitions to retrain your brain. We talked about neurosculpting. This is what neurosculpting is. You have to enforce these habits, or else you're just going to revert back to the person that you've always been. So it's, again, like going to the gym, like practicing a new sport or practicing an instrument. Repetition rewires the brain, and decisions become beliefs through evidence. So I'll give one little example of what I went through with David. My first conversation with David, I said, I'm having trouble in these areas. He's like, got it. What do you believe about success and making money? Because those are like two of the big things I wanted in my life. I wanted more money, I wanted more success, I wanted more time with my family. But I'm like, they work against each other, because in order to have more money and be more successful, I have to hustle harder, I have to grind longer, I have to outwork all my competition, and I have to sacrifice. I have to sacrifice my life in order to achieve anything greater now, because that's the only way I've ever known. He's like, got it. How does that make you feel? I'm like, it makes me feel terrible. He's like, God, so we're in a primal state. He's like, what would be the opposite of that? I'm like, well, I guess I'd be working less, I'd be spending more time with my family, and money be easy to make. He's like, got it. So maybe the best way to produce a result is to spend less time on it from a relaxed state. In order to achieve that result you want, you need to start spending more time with your family. You need to be taking more trips. You need to be letting go of control, and you need to be working less. And it was counterintuitive. I was like, that's crazy, but I'm paying you a lot of money, so I guess I'm gonna listen to this and entertain the idea. Over the course of the months to follow, and then in the entire year, I realized that this belief was true. Not only was it true, but I worked less and made more money. I spent more time with my family. My teams got more efficient. It was from that new decision, that one belief that changed everything. And I worked a lot of these different decisions and beliefs and decision matrices in order to reinforce this old pattern of doing things into new patterns of me enjoying life and putting what matters most to me first and letting things unfold. So the simple exercise you can do. This is exactly what I did with David. Okay, you need a piece of paper, you need 3 columns. You're going to start with your limiting belief, the one that makes you feel bad, angry, frustration, sad, whatever it is. That's the limiting belief. It could be the best way to produce a result is to hustle and grind and sacrifice my life, like it was for me. Second column is going to be the new belief, the one that makes you feel powerful, the one that makes you feel joy, happiness, curious, adventurous, whatever it is that makes you feel those good feelings. And you're going to now form the new belief. So the opposite of hustle and grind and sacrifice was work less, relax, enjoy time with family. Then you're going to source evidence. When has this new belief produced the result that you wanted? And at first it might seem like it never happens, but I guarantee, similar to me, I was like, it never happens, but I'm going to try to find some evidence. He encouraged me, like, look through your life. When was something easy? And all of a sudden I thought about this marketing campaign we launched where it like did 7 figures in just a weekend, versus other ones that took like years to build up. I'm like, that was easy. He's like, got it. That's evidence. I'm like, there was this time that I went on this trip and I found the client, and I wasn't even going on the trip to find a new client for consulting. He's like, got it. That was easy. So I continued to do this exercise. I continued to build evidence. And then daily, after my day or at the beginning of my day, I would do this exercise again. And sometimes I would actually pick a different limiting belief, a new empowering belief, and I'd find new evidence. What happened in my day that is reinforcing this new belief? And the more you do that, the more repetitions that you do with this practice, the stronger it gets. And the more you start to notice, the more things start to pop up in your life. It becomes like magic. I was continuously saying, this is such a coincidence, David. Like, I met this guy, I met this person, this happened. That's not coincidence. It's like, that's your brain activating signals in the universe. It's bringing exactly what you want because you're removing the resistance. And the more energetic feeling you feel, where you're feeling happy, good, you're enjoying life, that's going to produce better results than grinding, feeling like crap, and still producing a result, but not enjoying my life. The takeaway here, this is neurosculpting, daily evidence gathering to prove the new belief is true. And here's the truth. These frameworks aren't just mindset tricks. They're a way to live. If you take even one of these, maybe it's a power decision or the 2 states of being, and you actually practice this weekly, you'll start to see the shifts immediately and even more as you continue to practice it. That's what happened for me. It wasn't the coaching or the fancy language or the certifications. It was the decision to start thinking differently every single day and putting it into practice. So if this video and episode hit home, just do me a quick favor. Hit subscribe, drop a comment about which of David's tools you're going to apply first or which ones you'd used in the past, and share it with someone else, because that's the way we get the message out so that we continue to rewire and do resets on our mindset. And if you want to go deeper, you can join me in the Great Life Experiment. Again, it's a free 30-day challenge where I'll send you one powerful question each day to help you live with more clarity, peace, and purpose. And you can start right now. Just go to thegreatlifeexperiment.ca. Because listen, the truth is life doesn't change from just knowing things. It changes from deciding and taking action. So as always, thank you for joining me in this episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.